So this is a review for Two Gophers from Texas, released on the 17th of January 1948, with a blue ribbon reissue on the 31st of March 1956. It's the 512th in the series, and it's directed by Art Davis. Unfortunately, due to the fact that this is under copyright, I can't show the cartoon. You can find it on HBO Max in a beautiful new restoration. And again, because I can't show you the full cartoon, here's just a brief synopsis. A dog decides to hunt wild game and ends up encountering the Goofy Gophers. After a failed attempt, he consults a book to help him in his quest to get those gophers. And with me today are my fellow Gophers, I suppose, Manny, Cruz, and Austin Kelly. Say hi.
Hi.
Egads, another review.
Yes, I figured I needed to bring you on to lift the quality of these reviews. You know, maybe I should get you to do these reviews in that voice in the future. I might actually get some more subscribers. So maybe we'll do that, huh?
It sounds like a brilliant idea, Anthony.
Yes, I think so. Right, and you know, and since you were doing that voice, I might as well start with the first bit of trivia that this dog, the way he talks, is basically a caricature of John Barrymore and the way he spoke in his movies.
A big game hunter. I hear the call of the wild. With this book to guide me, I shall roam the woodland in search of my own sustenance.
That was a good little segue there. See, maybe there is something to this. Maybe I should get you on to do that voice more often. But just a bit more trivia before we get right into discussing this wonderful cartoon. I dare I say, maybe even a masterpiece. But it's the second Goofy Gophers short, and the only one to be fully made from start to finish by Art Davis. The title itself is based off of Two Guys from Texas, which was a Warner Brothers film, and the Goofy Gophers, who have the names Macintosh, but that was given to them in the 60s, I believe, but they seem to have more well-defined personalities than their first appearance, and while in their first appearance they had nice manners, here, that just goes to another level, and it's now part of the gags, which we'll, I'm sure, discuss very shortly. But who wants to go first to discuss this, their thoughts on this wonderful cartoon?
I guess I can talk about it a bit. So,
do please, I insist. Sorry.
Sorry. So anyway, I mean, of course, when you think about Art Davis's cartoons, you're thinking about the animation and the quality of it more than you are the direction. And that's not just for this cartoon, right? It's for every cartoon. It was a known fact then, it was a known fact now, that Davis didn't like directing. He was an animator before his directing career. He was an animator after. And he enjoyed working with his crew like Bill Melendez and Emery Hawkins more than he did writing or supervising production. So, and that really shows in this one. It really does. I mean, that opening walk with the dog, where he's reading that book and he slaps that, dish of bones or whatever it is across the screen. He's doing that bouncy walk. That's by a guy named Emery Hawkins. And my God, it's so hilarious. It's beautifully executed, but it's also laugh out loud funny, and that's tough to do. It's nothing like anything I've ever seen in a Warner Brothers cartoon before, which I think is interesting. Not a lot of people talk about this one, but I think the animation alone is like something that should be highlighted a lot more than a lot of like the Chuck Jones and First Freeling stuff that most people tend to highlight. And speaking of the animators, there's just such a cool contrast between guys like Hawkins and Basil Davidovich and Don Williams, who were like the main animators in this cartoon. I mean, they all had such different and distinct styles that every single scene stands out. And like, I don't care if you can't identify animators. You don't even need a brain to be able to go, okay, this scene's done by one guy, the next one's done by another guy. I mean, it's so incredible how hilarious the contrast is. Anyways, I know, Anthony, you were talking about this. The contrast between the animation on the Gophers and the animation on the dog, which I don't even know if that was intentional, but it's great.
It feels
but
like
in any
it's
case, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised because, like we already said, I mean, Davis was more interested in the animation in his cartoons than the story or anything else. But, I love this one. I think it's a classic. I would love to hear everyone else's thoughts, but I would be surprised if you guys said anything else.
Of course. I mean, I'll just point out one thing, that this was actually the first time I'd actually seen this short ever. I mean, if I had seen it before, it would have been as a kid, and I would have probably forgotten about it, but now as an adult, I mean, my goodness. I mean, people point out, and I am going to put this in review, to rightfully freeze frame Bob Clampett's shorts because of how crazy the animation gets. But here, wow, there's so much to do. So, Manny, yeah, what are your thoughts on this wonderful cartoon?
Oh, why, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Oh, I'll continue. Thank you. Yeah. It's funny. I was out in a mall in New Jersey just before got the invite to come on to do this recording for the commentary, and coincidentally in the cartoon, the Gophers mentioned Saks Fifth Avenue, which the mall I went to used to have or still has. But anyway, I digress. And I'm like, oh, two Gophers from Texas. I haven't seen this short easily probably 20 years or so. When I first really got into Looney Tune research 20 years ago, I saw a good amount of shorts, and I saw this one, but it's like completely slipped my memory. And I'm like, oh, which one of the Goofy Gophers is this one, or yada yada. And when I put it on just before coming on to do this commentary, and I also got to see one of the recent restorations of one of them that was on MeTV, and like Austin, what you were saying, holy cow, this is an absolutely brilliant short. Just, you were saying before, with people who, who are always, and obviously yourself, that you're so talented at it, at identifying animators, and I'm like, yeah, I think I could spot who's doing what in this one. I mean, I don't know specifically if it's, Bill Scott in this scene or Lloyd Turner, whatever. That I still need to learn. But it's like, it's so obvious. And what's strange is that I know from my experiences, watching cartoons and also watching a little bit of anime and seeing how distinct certain animations or certain animators are. Some people hate it. Some people like the contrast. But for me, there is so much insanity and contrast in the animation in the short, but it works. You never get the sense that it falls to pieces. And it's kind of a shame with Davis that, I mean, I kind of sympathize with him to the extent where that he was brilliant at this, at directing, but it wasn't really his thing. I know that from my own personal experiences where I'm talented in certain areas, but it's not exactly what I enjoy doing. It's just, you just do it well. And there's a few things I wrote down in my notes that I want to point out. I just absolutely love the pompousness of the dog the entire time. All the rolled R's and the inflections he had, like Anthony said, quoting John Barrymore, who I forgot. I really laughed out loud in the beginning when he snarled before he said something.
Own sustenance. Food in the raw.
Sometimes do the same thing for no reason, just for the heck of it. I think it's because I saw this cartoon years ago. The evil laugh, the typical, the Mel Blanc trademark, and the baby cry. It's just like Mel Blanc must have been in his glory recording this short, and just all the fun he had. Like some of the musical things that caught my notice. I mean, of course, Carl Stalling threw in Raymond Scott's dinner music for a pack of hungry cannibals. The part where it was cutting between the dog like about to attack the Gophers, and they're deciding.
Age before beauty, Now don't be a sill. Go ahead. Oh no. Let's be sensible. You first, please. I have it. Let's go together, shall we? Surely.
There's also, I noticed a little leitmotif or motif for my musical friends for the Goofy Gophers. That was, I believe, the Merry Carousel. I think Anthony and I both came to that same answer. And I like that little motif that Stalling threw in for them, that I don't remember if he carried it into the other Goofy Gopher shorts. And, and of course, near the end, I was like, oh, cool, Sweet Georgia Brown, when he started attacking him with a banjo converted into a Tommy gun and all that. And there was one complaint that I have with some of the newer interpretations of the Looney Tune characters is, I don't want to say blue humor, but like more modern, gross out humor, which is not really my cup of tea. I prefer seeing that type of humor in other types of cartoons. But I thought it was very clever during the baby scene when they're assuming, it's letting it be known that, oh, the baby might have had an accident without saying it. And then they pull up and you just see the stash of weapons. And that really had me howling. So, I mean, I could keep going on and on. I'll save the time, but what a brilliant short. Holy cow.
It's quite clear that by this point, Art Davis has now settled in as a director, because you can look at a few of his earlier shorts and the ones he had to finish Clampett's stuff off and all that. You know, you could see he was still working things out. Like, of course, he was an animator and, you know, he knew what he was doing. But as a director, yeah, you could see he was working things out. But now, it just feels like he's really confident. And it's such a shame that his unit has not too long to go after this, because, wow, he would have really gone so much further. In fact, in this cartoon specifically, it just seems like he is taking what he learned from the Foxy Ducklings second half and then plussing it for this particular cartoon. I mean, that's how I felt. It may not be true, but you know, it's one of those things where, okay, you gain experience from this, and then you sort of call back on it when you're working on something new. And now we're going to hear from my good friend Luke Perkins, who wants to offer up his thoughts on this wonderful cartoon.
Egad, Anthony, we have hit a real tour de force this time. It's not just a great cartoon loaded with great gags and splendid timing, but it's also a tour de force of animation throughout the whole cartoon. It's a sight to behold in terms of acting, character, and it's filled with personality. It features some of animation's greatest hits like Emery Hawkins, Don Williams, Basil Davidovich, and Bill Melendez, who would years later become a director of those Peanut specials and be the voice of Snoopy in Woodstock. What a resume! This cartoon immediately sucks you in with the great Shakespearean dog's monologue about his wanting to eat animals. It's a great setup that shows the dog isn't just some goofy foil. He's really out to get his meal. Not to mention the great animation by Emery Hawkins, who is a Disney-trained but also brilliant animator, who would really bring some of the subtle details into some of the animation. It's not just that in that scene that the dog is pacing back and forth, but the walk will slightly alter, the ears will slowly follow through with the head. It's brilliant stuff. Now, I want to mention something about that scene I mentioned earlier, and this is just me being a passionate but still young animator gushing about the technicalities of this. So, as the dog is pacing back and forth, pay attention to the dog's body and then his legs. It's timed seamlessly, but you may notice something that when the background is panning left to right, the legs are animated a little more smoothly. While the body is animated on 2s, which is 12 frames per second, or FPS for short, the legs are animated on 1s, or 24 FPS, which is the standard frame rate we use in movies and other media. Hooray for math! But when the background stops panning and becomes still, everything is animated on 2s, but then when it starts to pan again, the same thing happens. Now, take what I just mentioned, and after you probably might have seen the scene in slow motion, now you look at the scene in normal speed. It looks seamless, doesn't it? I also feel like this cartoon also really emphasized director Arthur Davis's obsession with the use of dry brush in this cartoon. Now, like smears and multiples, dry brush gives out an effect for fast motion, like motion blur in live action. But unlike a smear, in which the whole drawing is distorted, dry brush is kind of like motion blur, but the pose is still clear while also seeing the effect. Dry brush is also great for showing arcs too. In animation terms, an arc is a path an animator will draw on his roughs to show a visual path of a character's action that gives the character life and makes the motion feel organic. I think the one animator in Davis's unit to use dry brush a lot is a guy by the name of Don Williams. Compared to the other animators in the unit who use dry brush for the effect of motion, Don Williams goes just all out with it, even having the dry brush fully copy a part of the earlier pose. Just freeze frame one of his scenes in this cartoon, you'll probably see what I mean. This cartoon also includes one of my all-time favorite gags in animation. In a scene animated by Bill Melendez, in which the dog's baby disguise fails, He's working alright at first, but then... well, I'll let the clip play itself. It's a brilliantly animated scene. It's funny because it's not just the movement and the drawings that are funny, it's the timing that makes it absolutely perfect. The way the final pose is held too is also clever and shows that less is more. It's a cliche saying, but you have to make sure that you're doing the right thing with the comedy and not just let it be movement for movement's sake. I would also like to mention that in some shots that Emery animates of the dog, particularly in some close-ups, his eyes have a blue iris around the pupil. It slightly gives the dog a slightly crazy look that I really like in villains. Oh, I should also mention that great jam session finale, mostly animated by Bill Melendez and Emery Hawkins, who animated the final shot. Now, I just noticed something. Emery animated both the first shot and the final shot of this cartoon. Sounds pretty neat, huh? But anyways, the finale is filled with great musical timing and dancing, which I think dancing is a very underappreciated part in animation. You just got to get that choreography and timing just right while staying true to the character you're animating. And if you were an animator at Warner Brothers in the 1940s, you'd have to make it funny at the exact same time, otherwise the dance feels out of place. Which is a really daunting task for us animators, but it pays off in the end. Just look at Gary Chinicki's Bugs Bunny dance in Slick Hair, which is actually my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoon. Or look at Ken Harris's dance animation in A Bear for Punishment, which is a dance I'd love to analyze someday. Lastly, this cartoon shows why Arthur Davis is a personal favorite cartoon director of mine. While all the other directors at Warner Brothers were all fantastic in their own right, there was something about Art's work that really stood out. Maybe it had the wacky energy of a Clampett cartoon, but had a slight East Coast to it, since Arthur Davis was a true New Yorker. And it even has a bit more character, especially compared to Clampett's. I personally believe that it is a shame that he didn't do much cartoons, but at the same time, he was one of the best animators at Friz Freeling's unit in the 1950s and 60s. His work there was great, so maybe there was a light at the end of a really dark tunnel after all. But still, I really love Arthur Davis's work. He even directed that fantastic 1937 color Rhapsody, The Little Match Girl, which itself got a nomination for an Academy Award. Now, did I just analyze and gush about how perfect the animation is in this perfect cartoon? Yes I did. I would even say this is one of the few cartoons I would actually consider perfect. A masterpiece even. Egad, what a cartoon. Fa.
What I'd like is just your final scores, gentlemen. So, Austin, how would you rate this one?
It's a 10. It really is. It's a really easy 10 for me. And the fact that it's an easy 10, I mean, I think that's like a statement alone that this one is amazing. I want to point out one last thing, just to backtrack a bit. When Manny brought up the Sweet Georgia Brown sequence, I love the ending and that musical scene, and then it just cuts to the piano. I don't know what the specific part's called, but like the bars or the things inside, the mallets inside the piano, hitting the dog's, I don't know what word to use, ass, I guess, but it's just so funny. And I want to point out that last shot, if you look at it, the stalling soundtrack is timed up to like the dog's twitching on the iris out. I thought that was really fun.
Egad, what a book!
And shameless
yes.
plug, I actually highlighted that last scene with the twitching on my first episode of Magic of Freeze Framing that I did for my channel way back 9 months ago. It's a pretty bad video, but it's interesting to watch still, I think.
Oh yes, it's pretty good, but I don't know, man. You said ass on my channel, so I might have to ban you from future future reviews. You said ass, but Manny, how would you rate this one?
Well, I would just like to say that, Austin, the preferred term is gluteus maximus. Thank you very much. Yeah, just what a banger of a short. Just, I really have no complaints with it. It's brilliant animation, so expressive. The musical cues worked, and Austin, thank you for bringing up that point near the end. I didn't even notice that, like, that it was specifically timed to that, and just musically, it's great. Laughing consistently throughout, and again, not having seen this one in decades and seeing it again brand new and just it making me laugh the whole time. Just absolutely 10 out of 10. It definitely belongs on, a list of the one of the greatest Warner Brothers shorts ever made. Absolutely brilliant.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And I kind of feel like a bozo because I was going to say 9.5 out of 10, but hey, it's just about a 10 anyway. Look, it's I don't know. I'll be like the third judge, at the like judging thing where there's always that one contrarian judge, like 10, 9.5.
Or more
No.
appropriately, what you should say is all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Who keeps saying that?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not putting a Simpsons footage here. I don't want Disney to take me down like Warner Legal did. But we'll finish up here. But what a masterpiece of a cartoon. Get HBO Max if you want to see it. Like I said, I can't share this here. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, take care.
See ya.
Egad, what a review! Fun!